Welcome to The Blueprint, a journey of self-discovery intended to reconnect you to yourself and remind you that all the answers you seek, you hold within. The Blueprint is a journey which intends to bridge the gaps of access to self-healing. Over the course of 11 core episodes, we will explore radically different ways of thinking where science meets spirituality meets self-love. The Blueprint is a hack to fast-track your consciousness and realign you with your soul. I'm Marley Finnegan, creator of The Blueprint, seeker of seekers, mother, intuitive healer, and lover of Mother Earth. Welcome to part 3 of The Blueprint, Understanding Your Mind. We must understand our three minds, our conscious mind, subconscious mind, and ego mind. Here are a few key baselines to know about our brains. Our brain's neural pathways for retaining stories are 5 times stronger than when processing data or facts. The brain also takes shortcuts. It picks up clues and makes assumptions based on the past. The brain is highly uncomfortable in the unknown, and it's also hardwired for symmetry. The brain is uncomfortable with change. Yet the one constant of life is that things are always changing, as we witness within all aspects of nature and life and death. First, the conscious mind is your logical daily mind. The conscious mind receives information from your 5 senses. It's where you think and where you rationalize. Logic rules in the conscious mind, yet the conscious mind does not primarily control our actions. Our actions are largely controlled by our subconscious minds. The subconscious mind is largely ruled by emotions and instinct. Its job is to help us meet our needs and our urges: food, thirst, safety, intimacy, reproduction, and many others. It is a very powerful force. It doesn't reason or judge. It simply acts, often commanding our actions. The subconscious mind is formed beginning from the time we're born until 7 or 8 years old. It forms a foundation of your preset beliefs, limitations, and perceptions based on the people around you, the verbal and nonverbal lessons you perceive or are taught, along with the music, TV shows, and movies in your world during this time, whether they're yours or others. Together, these minds work together to determine your actions. The image of yourself within the subconscious mind is the prevailing image of yourself. This can prevent us from succeeding without our awareness. Have you ever had self-sabotaging thoughts around your capabilities, a relationship, or a person's perspective of you? Or not applied for a job because you feared failure? This is the subconscious mind at work, operating from a very old belief system. If we do not have an image of our success in our subconscious mind, there is resistance, and therefore our subconscious mind may not be in energetic alignment with our conscious goals and dreams. The third part of our mind is the ego mind. The ego is an internal voice, primarily acting out of protection and self-preservation. It may also have the voice of an inner critic, including negative self-talk, which ultimately stems from the desire to keep you safe. This is why we see the ego with empathy. The ego mind is averted to change, since change is unknown and therefore unsafe. The ego mind is a human mechanism to keep us alive. It is good to remember that one very constant truth in life, and that all energy is in a constant state of change. It's one of the greatest realizations and gifts we can give ourselves, and how we empathize with our ego mind. The power of storytelling. The stories that we tell literally make our world. If you want to change the world, you need to change your story. Stories are so powerful that the neural activity in our brain is 5 times our normal activity. A good story can engage up to 7 different regions of our brain as we imagine the experiences we might see smell, hear, or taste. When we hear a story, especially one that has enough emotion to capture our attention and connect with us on an emotional level, our brain networks light up with stimulation. Emotions heighten our ability to remember experiences and improve information processing. Emotions are a signal to our brain that the experience is important. As a result, the brain pays more attention and stores the information that is charged with emotion into deeper regions of our brain, such as the cerebellum. The more that we relate to the characters or the story, the more likely we will be able to recall the experience. But what if that character in the story is us? And knowing this, what stories have we been telling ourselves which aren't in service to us? Our brain doesn't discern whether the story is good for us or bad. But what stories can we create which help ourselves and help others see the best possible version of us and of Mother Earth? Here are some questions to get you thinking. What are some words you would use to describe yourself? What parts or stories about yourself do you most identify with? What words would your best friend use to describe you? What words would your mom or dad? What are stories or assumptions people tell about you which you don't like or aren't your truth? And explore the concept of stop reacting to your thoughts, start responding to your feelings. When we look at our beliefs, we must define ours versus the stories we've inherited. Recall the power of stories and the brain's capacity to hold on to things. What if we believe stories that are not at all true? What of the stories that we were told about ourselves aren't ours at all? Understand that stories are beliefs. The Mandela effect is a wild example. The Mandela effect is a phenomenon in which many people share a false memory of an event that never happened, in which Nelson Mandela died in jail in the 1980s, when in fact he died in 2013, long after that time. What does your subconscious tell you that isn't serving you? It's important that we watch, listen, learn, we write, and go deep on this topic. How can we access and reprogram our subconscious minds? Through meditation, hypnosis, and sleep state meditation and reprogramming. So as you're slipping into sleep state, your mind is one of the most malleable to reprogramming. Free writing in your journal, allowing thoughts to free flow physically through your body onto paper. Neuromuscular re-education, breath work, EMDR. We have to go in to get it out. The subconscious can be accessed by a number of modalities, but meditation and journaling are two very powerful options which everyone has access to. Reprogramming and accessing our conscious mind happens through a conscious commitment to learning and realization of self, self-actualization, talk therapy, introspection, and empathetic tracing of our trail of trauma. How do we access or reprogram our ego? That is through observation and empathy. The importance of letting the mind be free without judgment, even for the hard parts and intrusive thoughts. We must trace the trail of ego back to its origination. We can always trace back where the ego comes from, and typically it is from a place of simply trying to keep us safe. When we think about judgment and fear of intrusive thoughts, we have to recognize our words have power. And we have to create a conscious commitment to the elimination of negative self-talk, both within our thoughts and our spoken words. By observing invasive or intrusive thoughts without self-judgment, we can relabel these thoughts as neutral and see them with kindness and neutrality for ourselves. It's important to identify resistance. Resistance, in the very most simplistic form, is split energy. Our subconscious mind can be resistant to something we think we want in the conscious mind based on limiting beliefs which we have believed about ourselves from childhood in our subconscious. You may not be aware of these thoughts at all. Resistance or discordant energy, which is working in opposition to our conscious thoughts or words and emotions, which we must identify and transmute in order to align with our goals and desires. This sounds complicated, but for example, my being here on this exact moment, speaking to everyone, there's a part of my subconscious mind that I carried from childhood about not being seen or heard. And ultimately, me being here, having this conversation, is me overcoming a subconscious belief that I'm not worthy of being seen or heard. When we identify external energies, this is an extremely important topic. Identifying our own intuition versus other energies. So knowing what is the voice of ourselves, which is calm, versus identifying other energies, which can be energies of fear and judgment. Love expands when we view or feel it, and lower vibrational energies dissipate when we view them with love. However, there are dark energies / energies that are outside of us, the unseen world, the parts that, Western worldviews don't acknowledge, in which it's important to identify. So I've had many circumstances in which I identify energies within myself, including thoughts that are intrusive, emotions that are, big, that don't align or identify with my own inner truth. And how do we discern these? It's important that we understand discernment and sovereignty. Once the subconscious is made conscious, we can work with these energies out in the open. I like to say, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. This applies both internally and externally, societally and otherwise. What is within is without. I was walking down the street one day going to get some coffee beans and literally heard the words, "It'd be a lot easier if you weren't here." This was last summer in my lovely, beautiful neighborhood. It was a beautiful, sunny day. I don't believe those words. Those words were not me. That energy, that thought was highly intrusive. And it was at a time where I wasn't having, I had a lot of uncertainty in my life. And ultimately, I had to discern that energy was not mine. Those words were not mine. That belief was not mine. Yet it sounded like me. It looked like me. It was in the voice of my intuition. And so I welcome you to explore the concept that thoughts, words, and emotions are energies, and we don't have to attach our identities nor our guilt or shame to all these feelings. There have been multiple events in recent months in which I've identified that thoughts, that I had were really not in alignment with my soul or, in my opinion, my own thoughts. So it's a concept to explore, and based on my own experience with energies and with energies of loved ones who are no longer embodied in physical bodies. I sometimes say I have like a touch of mediumship. There are a lot of energies that we, seen and unseen, that we, really don't give a lot of weight to, but ultimately they have effects on us every day of our lives. Discernment is about identifying what is not yours, including the stories, thoughts, or words that aren't in service to you, as well as thoughts which you don't resonate with. See them and let them go without judgment of yourself. They are not you, they are energy, and you do not have to attach to them. Sovereignty relates to the ownership of your body, mind, soul, and all parts. You are a sovereign being, meaning that you have agency about what goes in or comes out of you. When we feel discordant energy, whether it be formulated in our subconscious or energies outside of ourselves, we have the power to release and excavate these energies. We are sovereign beings, and we can disallow anything that we set our minds to. But this process first requires seeing that which is not in service to us in the first place. This requires introspection in all forms. Here are some questions for your blueprint. What areas of resistance do you already feel are apparent? What methods have you used to avoid, numb, or distract away from things which you don't want to think about? What things does your mind not want you to address out of fear or pain or uncomfortable memories? And has anything happened recently in which you could identify thoughts, emotions, or words which don't feel resonant with your truth? Thank you for choosing yourself. The work to return to yourself is some of the hardest work you can do. We believe everyone is intuitive, creative, and always connected to their own divine highest power. When we invest in ourselves and our consciousness, we are raising the frequency of humanity. What we do in the highest good of our souls, we do for the highest good of all. We've designed experiences for you to continue in your exploration of these topics, which are on a pay-what-you-can basis. Find customized meditations, journal prompts, rituals, and abundant resources at the link in our bio or theblueprintwithin.com.